this is Jason with Violator Comics Collectibles coming at you with another toy review. And this time we're taking a look at the Dick Tracy flat top figure. And this is from the Dick Tracy toy line from Playmates Toys from 1990. So the first thing we're going to do is take a closer look at the figure. So taking a look at Flat Top, so probably one of the most iconic bad guys in the Dick Tracy, lore. Really cool looking figure. I mean, he's so, unique with this shape of his head and the way he looks. And now obviously this is supposed to represent Flat Top, in the movie, because this was the movie toy line, but obviously it looks good, as far as the comics are concerned as well. These figures are very, very over the top. Like every figure in this toy line has like that gimmick. You're gonna have Flat Top with this flat top hair. You're gonna have, shoulders, the way they look, the rodent, prune face. I mean, you got these guys that just have such an iconic look to them. They're so unique, and that's what's really cool about this toy line is you're gonna get, you have two good guys and the rest are bad guys. You never see that in toy lines anymore. You barely get any bad guys anymore when it comes to toy lines. Sometimes you're lucky enough to get one or two, but this was basically the whole toy line minus two figures, which I think is really, really cool. But, obviously taking a look at him, so he's got his ammo belt on right now, which I'm actually going to pull off just to clip it. But you can see he comes with his ammo belt, which is basically just like this. Looks really cool. You can wrap it around his waist if you wanted to as well, and it clips on. And then we have his Tommy gun, which looks really, really cool. There's two different Tommy guns in this toy line. That basically how it had this thicker part on the handrail, and then it has one of them has a very thin, just the barrel sticking out. This one looks cooler. This is definitely more durable. The other ones seem to rip off real easy, but this is this comes with flat top. It comes with prune face, and I think like one other figure, and then the rest, like Itchy and stuff, had that longer single barrel. But he also came with basically, I would assume this is a noose. It's got like it's supposed to be wrapped up around like the extra rope, and he's got the little handle here even in it, and this is the noose part. So pretty cool. But I mean, as far as the figure, the detail is probably the coolest. I mean, just looking at him, we'll go into each little section, but for having these little squatty looking figures, they have a lot of detail and a lot of personality to them. Now, as far as articulation, pretty good for back then. I mean, obviously this is 1990, but you got his, his head turns, his arms rotate all the way around. He rotates basically at the wrist. It's kind of right, a little bit past his wrist, but it rotates at his wrist on both arms. He does not have any waist movement, but his legs are basically on a ball joint. I mean, you can move them around all over. I mean, really good. Now these, are squattier figures. They do look kind of funny, I guess. But I like this toy line. I like the way they look. I mean, it's very similar to the way that Ninja Turtles were. You can see what they were definitely going for, how they had those squattier looking figures. And here we have his face. Now, obviously, this is one of the original toys that I've actually had when I was a kid. This was actually my brother's figure and one of his favorites. But you can see his eyebrows are kind of chipping a little bit, but that's, this figure was well played with. But I really like the way his face looks. I mean, you look at his mouth. Everything's done real cool. And I always wondered you know, he has like these little marks on his shoulders, like his shoulder pads. I'm assuming those are supposed to be like bullet holes. They never really say anything, but I mean, I would guess that that's what that's supposed to represent. I'm not really sure, but I mean, look at the iconic look of his, you know, flat top. He's got a little hair right there, but I mean, everything looks great on this guy. And here you can see those bullets wrapped around him on the ammo belt. I think that looks really cool that you could do that. Now you can put this really anywhere. It can fit basically across the shoulder like this, or also put it around his waist, which is pretty cool. But you know, definitely a cool little feature. I mean, obviously with the Tommy gun, you're probably not going to use an ammo belt, but it's still definitely a cool feature to have with these figures. Here we have his midsection without that ammo belt on. You can see the suspenders, little clips like that. I think that, I mean, everything looks cool. As you go to the back, the suspenders go in the back. You can see where they clip onto the pants. He's got a knife in his pocket. I mean, everything's really cool. And one of my favorite little touches is he's got this little skull cufflink on. I mean, on both sides, and I think that's a really cool looking, you know, feature. And this is actually where the wrist articulation is just past the cufflink, which is kind of weird, but everything looks cool in these guys. I mean, definitely, you know, for a little cartoony, squatty figure, they definitely went above and beyond and made this guy really detailed. Here we have his feet, and obviously this is an older figure, so a little bit paint chipping, but, you know, looks great. They did little loafers, little penny loafer looking style. I mean, everything looks good on this figure. Like I said, the detail for such a cartoony, squatty figure is pretty top notch. Very cartoony, you know, comic booky. And here we have Flat Top next to another popular Playmates toy. This is the Ninja Turtle toy line. And obviously the Ninja Turtles came before this, but you could definitely see that, you know, they were massively copying the way they looked. The bulky, small, short, squatty figures, the legs, the way they squat out. I mean, it's almost identical in all honesty. They definitely tried to keep that and, you know, try and mimic that, and, you know, hopefully, you know, kids would take to this. Now, in all honesty, the toy line didn't sell very well at all. And that's kind of where the lore of one of the, you know, of one of the more rare figures, you know, especially mass-produced rare figures, comes into the thing. Basically, there's a figure called the Blank. If you haven't seen the Dick Tracy, it's basically, you know, black trench coat character with a blank face on it. And in the movie, it's actually a specific character. It's the female character played by Madonna. She's actually the Blank. And the toy actually, the mask actually comes off. They decided to hold the toy back because if you got the toy, it would basically give away a huge twist in the movie. So they didn't want to do that, you know, for the kids. The problem is that when they decided they wanted to release that figure, the toy line wasn't selling very well. So they actually only released it basically outside the U.S. In Canada and I think a couple other areas, but Canada is most, you know, noteworthy. So basically, that figure has skyrocketed in price. I mean, typically, to see one outside a package, you'll see them sell for $300 to $400, and inside the package, $600, $700, $800, which is absolutely ridiculous. But one of those weird things where, like, you know, they have, it's actually a really cool looking figure. It's just they decided, you know, to hold it back for a pretty obvious reason. It's just like with some of the newer toy lines, like the Star Wars toy lines, like the Force Awakens. They didn't release any kind of promotional stuff with Rey holding a lightsaber. Any of the toys that had a lightsaber, you know, they didn't release any of that with Rey because that was kind of the big reveal towards the end of the movie, is that she had the Force powers and she used the lightsaber at the end to fight Kylo Ren. Just like the Disney Store had a specific toy that they released it without the lightsaber, and then the day the movie hit, they dropped it with the lightsaber. It's just stuff like that. The problem is with Star Wars, you know, everybody's going to buy Star Wars. Unfortunately for Dick Tracy, the toy line didn't catch off, but I love these figures. I absolutely love these figures. And here we have, just to see another toy in the toy line. Here is Dick Tracy, which will be reviewed a little bit later if I can get him to stand. Got to get his leg just right. Come on. They are little heavy figures. Come on, little squatty little figures. Come on. He doesn't want to stand. There we go. But you can see, you know, the size comparison. Dick Tracy's a little bit taller, but it is because of the hat. But, you know, I like these cartoony figures. I mean, this is something from my childhood. You know, this flat top with my brother's figure, the Dick Tracy one with my figure. But I like this. I like the over-the-top bad guys. I think it's a really cool thing. The gangster style, the guns. I mean, it's just everything a kid would love. I mean, you know, they're playing off the Ninja Turtle style figures, which I think, you know, is good. I liked them. I like this toy line. A lot of people didn't like the look of the figures, but I like them. They probably could have went in the, you know, the style of like a G.I. Joe figure, but I think this cartoony look really fit them and worked really good, especially because, you know, the source material is comic books. But another fantastic toy line, one of the most recognizable characters in the Dick Tracy, you know, lore. being Flat Top. And once again, this has been Jason with Violator Comics Collectibles. Any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and I'll see you guys next time.